All right, let's start.
Made me nervous though. Okay, Boston, August 2023 recap podcast.
How many days did we do?
4 days.
4 days.
4 days in Boston.
3 days originally, 1 extra day.
3 planned days, 1 unplanned day, which we will get to later.
Yeah.
But this is our first podcast since our
Vienna one.
and our Italy. So
Yeah.
I would say a smaller destination, but not really because it was kind of awesome. So
Smaller destination, wonderful place, much more expensive than
Expensive.
Vienna in Italy.
surprisingly expensive, but
No, I expected it, but
we
yeah.
expected it, I guess, yes. But just like we've done before, we thought it would be fun to document our podcasts of our travel just for ourselves. But if anyone else finds it helpful too, that's cool. But
Yeah, we got a whole 28 views on
28
our
views.
Vienna one, and everyone watched it for an average of 40 seconds. So
thank you if you're one of those.
That's a great 40 seconds.
We find them entertaining, but it's for us, and that's kind of why we're doing it anyways. I feel like is just to look back on for ourselves in the future and for our future kids, and just to like remember the things that we did and not forget, because we don't journal very often ever.
No, probably should do that.
We should, but this to me feels easier, just to be able to talk about what we experienced and why we liked it, so that we can look back in the future and maybe be cringy at ourselves for like feel cringy for watching ourselves do this, but like
No such thing as cringy.
it'll be fun.
I would have been cringed out all the way by now with my own podcast.
Simply Technical. Check it out.
My technical.
But yeah, so Boston. That was. Do you want to explain how we kind of got to Boston before we get
So
into it?
we went to Boston because I was doing a conference, the Basic Cardiovascular Sciences Conference, where all the scientists come and talk about heart stuff, and of course that's what I do. So I loved going out there. Last year we did Chicago, and then this year was in Boston. But I figured, well, why not make a trip out of it for both of us? So as soon as the conference ended, Lydia flew into Boston. So this was, for me, I was already there for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in on a Sunday and did the conference Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Lydia got there on Thursday. And I won't really talk about what I did during the conference, but I mean, I didn't do any crazy Boston things. I kind of saved it for whenever Lydia got there, but I did get some really good food during the off hours of the conference. I went to wow, I completely forgot the name of that.
Barking Crab.
The Barking Crab, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got lobster there. That was amazing. That
Lobster
was the very
rolls.
lobster rolls. Yes, that was the very first meal I actually had in Boston, and it was the best one I had. So didn't beat that one in the end. But yeah, so Lydia got there Thursday. We went to Seaport Hotel.
Yeah, I would say just to start off, we didn't have like much of an agenda. Like we had things planned for the day, but we didn't have like reservations booked for restaurants, and we didn't have like tours scheduled necessarily. Like we had like a goal for the day of just like an area to go explore. So that's kind of what I'd say we like segmented each day based on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
we would try and stay in a certain area. Maybe have a goal for like the 3 or 4 hours, but we didn't have like this is like our plan for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Which we found that works best for us with traveling. It's just fun to explore a new city, and Boston was a great place to do that in because everything that we did was really, really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we ended up staying in the Seaport District, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's very pretty. It's cheaper than staying in the main Boston downtown. I think that's the south end or the north end. I get them mixed up. But the main Boston Commons downtown area is a little bit more expensive. So we stayed in Seaport, which felt more modern. Like
It was very modern.
super nice high rises and super nice condos and apartments all around you. So I liked it, and it was only like a 20-minute walk down to sort of the old town Boston.
Yeah, and I guess that's worth noting too. We didn't rent a car or anything for this entire trip. We did pretty exclusively walking, and for a few days when we were tired, we would do Ubers, but it was super manageable.
We also used the public transport.
And we did do the subway too,
Yeah.
so it was very manageable. It was a very walkable city, is what I will say, which was really nice, and that's something we really enjoyed about it. I think.
Feels like a European city in America, basically.
Yeah,
Because it is the original American city, which was born out of Europe. So I thought that part was extremely cool. I love walkable cities. That's why I loved Europe so much. It's so opposite of what you get in Oklahoma City or somewhere in Texas, where everyone has to drive 20 minutes to get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
we cannot
super
do that
nice.
here in Oklahoma. So it was nice to be able to feel like we saw a lot when we were just walking place to place. But yeah, we got there, so I guess we can start off with what we were doing. So I got in like midday, lunchtime around on that Thursday after Keaton, right after we finished his conference, so it was perfect timing. I don't remember the restaurant we went to, but we went to a nice lunch, like it was like a
on the water.
Like lunch on the water. I had my first lobster roll. I was happy. That was like one of my goals.
Yeah.
So we hit it right off the bat, and we had a few, and they were all good. But it was fun to say that we tried that. And what else did we do that first day?
And then that first day, we walked straight to Old Town Boston, I'm pretty sure, after that.
Oh, yeah. So we went downtown. That's where it was, right?
Yeah, so did the big mess hall, basically.
Oh, yeah, Quincy Market.
Quincy
That's
Market,
what it was. That's actually what we did our very first night. So I had 2 lobster rolls that day, I guess.
Yeah. And then we had the lobster roll again. We went to the was it the tequila place that
we went to? So we didn't really have, just to preface, because I feel like this sounds scattered, we didn't really have an agenda for the first day. Our first day was really just like me getting in, kind of trying to plan for any travel issues, which thankfully we didn't have at the beginning. Eat some good food, just kind of walk around. But so we ended up finding ourselves in downtown Boston in the Old Town District, like Keaton said, and went to Quincy Market, which is the big food hall. There's tons of different restaurants in there. That's a very popular place, so highly suggest that. There's shopping and stuff too. And then mid-afternoon, I would say, when we walked down there originally, we went to this tequila tasting place, which we had a margarita. We didn't do the tequila tasting itself, but it was incredible.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. Highly suggest that. I wish I could remember the name.
It was connected to the Quincy Market.
It was connected to Quincy Market.
You
It's
couldn't
not hard
really
to find.
miss it. Yeah.
We did that. We kind of had an early dinner that night. I wouldn't say anything significant that day because I had gotten up at like 3 a.m. to travel down there. So I think we ended up eventually in bed by like 9:30. That first night we did go to the beer garden.
Yeah.
I forgot. Cisco, is that what it was called?
Cisco's, yes.
Yeah, so
which is really close to the Seaport Hotel, which is where we stayed in Seaport. And at the edge of the Seaport district is Cisco's, which is just like sort of beer garden hangout spot that everyone goes to, and that's where everyone went to for the conference. They would go to that in the evenings when conference ended, of course. And actually, when we went, it was a Thursday night, and it was a lot more energetic. There were so many people, and it was we went at like 7-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So like post work. There's PwC and PTC, which is a software firm that are high rises right next to this place, and so I feel like everyone came from work to just hang out over there, and so it was cool to sort of experience the day-to-day life of a Boston worker, basically.
Yeah, it was fun. It was very different than like the.
You don't see those crowds in Oklahoma City, really. Yeah,
but
it felt like London to me whenever I walked around downtown London and saw everyone at post work there. Post work, they all go to the pubs at in London it's like 4 o'clock in their time, so they get off a little bit earlier than us. But in Boston, it was 6:30, 7-ish that everyone was down there, so that was cool. And I mean, like I said, she said earlier that we do seem a little bit scatterbrained in our scheduling, but that's because I think both of us prefer to just walk around and do things that we like, that we see, that we think look cool. It's like the serendipity of travel. You can run into the super cool experiences, and versus having a strict schedule ends up making things a lot more stressful, because you end up missing things, you end up being a little bit later, you end up being too early, so you plan everything around that so you don't end up experiencing nearly as much. So I don't like schedules when it comes to travel. We do them sometimes because you have to, but I prefer open book and doing some research before, so I'm in the areas that are nice and then just walking around those areas.
Yeah, it made a really manageable trip that way. And I think, like we mentioned earlier, we had long-term goals for the day, which we'll kind of get into here in a second. But yeah, the day-to-day, the hour-by-hour was really flexible, which was just way more relaxing than like a super scheduled trip. So all in all, that first day we ended up doing all those things, getting to bed at a reasonable time, and our goal for that second day, if we want to move into that, was basically to go down to Cambridge. And our first day, so we were supposed to have 2 full days, which again we ended up with 3, and we'll explain that later. But so we had that first half day, and then we were supposed to have 2 full days and then fly out the next day. So our first full day that we ended up spending in Boston was scheduled to kind of go explore Cambridge. Again, no super tight agenda, but just to go see Harvard. MIT was our other goal, and just kind of just to walk around like we like to do. So we got up, and the subway was super easy down there. It was pretty clean. It wasn't too bad.
No, yeah, it's not Vienna, but it's definitely nicer than other big cities like Chicago's.
Yeah, and it was super easy to figure out what we needed to do. So I think within like a half hour of getting to the subway, we were in Cambridge, right?
Yeah, it's just you take the red line and you go to get off at Harvard, and you're in Harvard, basically, Harvard Square.
Yeah, and I had no expectation. I've never looked up what Harvard or MIT looks like before, so I did not know what we were going to see, but like, I really loved Cambridge. I think that was probably our most exhausting day, to be honest, because we walked, I think in all, from start to finish, we walked like 10 miles that day.
Oh, I thought it was 15.
It might have been 15. It was a lot. It was a lot. And on top of that, we were not drinking a lot of water because we were trying not to have to stop at a bunch of like public restrooms and stuff like that. So that was kind of mistake number 1, but all worked out in the end. But Cambridge was very unique in the sense of when we were in downtown Boston, it was very industrial, very modern, and Cambridge had a lot of, I guess what I would explain as like old world charm. It felt like European to me, and it felt intellectual, I guess.
Yes.
He loved it.
I do.
Too, for that reason.
It's the intellectual capital of the world. Everyone knows that Cambridge is the place where all the best science and best math is done. Cambridge in the U.S. I mean, Cambridge in the U.K. is still also very good, but Cambridge in the U.S. is basically the innovation capital of the world. A lot of people will argue that San Francisco is, but I would argue the opposite. I mean, we're the travel podcast, but not to get preachy on technology, but technology flows from science, and science is Cambridge is where all the best science is being done. And so it was very cool to like feel that atmosphere. Like we walked around Harvard. I'd never been to Harvard campus, and it was cool. Of course, it was all the freshmen were getting their tours, about to move in. I bet a lot of them were moving in that day, saw parents and stuff. But then we did not stumble into the science building. We went to the science building because I wanted to go to the science building. And we were just walking around, and we looked into some of the classrooms, and you just see a professor one-on-one with a student, like working on some complex equation on the chalkboard. That's another thing. That's a key. Chalkboard, not a whiteboard. It's old, and something feels special about sort of conserving that old world charm, even especially in the academic area.
Yeah, it was really, really. I can't even explain what it felt like to be there, but it was just really cool to be there around all these people that you knew could have such an impact on the world. And granted, not that we couldn't, we totally could do that, and I think you 100% are, but it was just cool to be in a place where so many intellectual things come out of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can't think of
it's very different than being in Oklahoma City.
Yes, yeah, so that was really fun. And it was totally unplanned that we were there on like I think it was just like a new student welcome day, basically. So there was families everywhere, there was tours going on, so I feel like we heard little tidbits of like facts and advice throughout our like walk, and the trees were huge and beautiful, and the buildings were old, and it was really cool. I'd say we spent probably like an hour just walking around the campus and sitting down and kind of taking it in.
I think we spent even more than that.
We went to the famous bookstore. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Bought a book there.
I did get Eric Howell's book on consciousness, which is very good. I guess probably no one will see this, but shout out to him.
If you
The World Behind the World is a very good book.
Yeah. So. But yeah, I'd say after that we kind of our goal after that, I guess I had done a little bit of research, like very minimal research on good restaurants and good coffee shops and stuff. Which I guess that's something else to know. Right before we went to the campus, we did go to a coffee shop, which again I'm blanking on the name at this point, so apologies. But really just tried to be in the moment and see what was around us, and so that's kind of how we ended up stumbling into lunch too. Is I had seen that day on social media, just that there was this really good like banh mi Vietnamese restaurant that served really good coffee. So that's where we decided to go for lunch. It was like a 30-minute walk, which gave us a really cool opportunity to walk through Cambridge, like past Harvard, into the neighborhoods. Again, even more of the old world charm. Very quaint, very quiet.
Yeah.
For a Friday. I
Yeah.
mean, it was, again, not school season at the time, but there was still people around, but it didn't feel busy. It just felt kind of serene in a way.
Yes.
And
yeah,
peaceful.
Definitely.
Ended up at that restaurant. It was the best coffee we had on that entire trip. Vietnamese coffee. Did not know that was a thing, but it was incredible. And I guess kind of on top of that too, we were noticing throughout our trip how every conversation we were overhearing, people are just intellectual in general there. So I feel like all the conversations we heard were about like venture capital or politics, and it was so interesting to hear the day-to-day conversations of the people who live in Boston.
Young people in Boston. What are young people in Oklahoma City talking about? I don't know. You tune into a conversation and you hear some stupid drama or something most of the time. And there's an old Paul Graham essay that you can tell a lot about a city by just sitting in a coffee shop and listening to what people are talking about. And I guess I haven't done that enough in Oklahoma City to get what Oklahoma City is really about. But if you go into Cambridge, you'll feel that it's like, oh, these people are important. They're smart. They're talking about important things. They're talking about biology. They're talking about biotech. They're talking about politics. They're talking about software. It's like, I should be smarter. That's what the city tells you. The city tells you that you should be smarter, and yeah, it's very cool to hear, to just listen on younger people or even college students' conversations in that, especially I mean the Vietnamese shop or the Vietnamese coffee shop was cool.
Yeah. I'd say that was probably the highlight of that day. We ended up after that making our way back into downtown Boston.
We missed no, not yet. We went to after Harvard, we wanted to go to MIT because of course
yes.
I love all things biology in MIT. And I guess what we did originally was, so MIT is located in Kendall Square. We didn't know that at first. We went to Central Square.
It was the stop in
on the subway. So the stop in between Harvard and Kendall Square, Central Square. We went to Central Square, which I guess now thinking back, logically it makes sense that Central Square is in between Harvard and MIT. But whatever, we thought it was MIT. We got Central Square is not nice. It is not nice like Harvard and MIT's nice. This is a slightly sketchy area to get out of the subway on, and we got out and we're like, this does not look right. And we went back down and we went to Kendall Square, and MIT has just a completely different vibe of Harvard. I did like Harvard's style better, but MIT, of course, is known for technology and
innovation,
biology more so than Harvard is. Harvard is sort of, I mean, just on a stylistic point, it's like a humanities enterprise, whereas MIT is like a technological enterprise. It's in the name, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And so when we got there, you see like the Broad, which is the big biology institute. You see several other large biological or even physics related research institutes, and it's just like huge buildings everywhere. I don't know what style to call it, like modern glass buildings. You see big biotechs and pharmaceuticals. I think Novo Nordisk has a huge facility down there. I think
we walked right by Google down there too.
We did walk by Google.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And so we walked around MIT's campus for a little bit, and I don't know. Do you have anything on MIT really that?
Not necessarily. I would agree. I think that Cambridge was a cooler atmosphere.
Or they're both in Cambridge, but Harvard is.
Sorry, Harvard's version of Cambridge, like the old school Cambridge, was a really unique atmosphere. But it definitely fit with what not looking back, it fit with what I would expect now. Like MIT, very
So it was ambitious.
Ambitious, yeah, that's a good way to say it. But it was cool to walk through both of those areas. I do think at that point we were getting pretty tired. We had lunch, but again, we hadn't really had a lot of water that day, so I think the exhaustion of the day was starting to set in. So eventually we ended up going back to our hotel for a bit, and that was actually the one night that we did have dinner reservation plans, and we were originally really excited about this. So they've got their Little Italy, I think that's what it's called,
Yeah,
down
Little
in
Italy.
Boston. Of course, we went to Italy, so we were thrilled about that, super excited. But unfortunately, as we started getting down there, I was getting dehydrated without knowing it. Eventually, I realized that's what was happening. I was able to, when we got to our restaurant, kind of get water and get what I needed to feel better, but I don't think we were able to fully experience it the way we were hoping to.
Yeah.
And it kind of was like a waste of our really nice dinner, because that was like our expensive dinner reservation that we were going to, and the only thing we had planned for the whole trip really, and it kind of got a little bit tainted by how I was feeling. I felt really sick and I just couldn't enjoy it. I was eating out of necessity versus like wanting to experience it. But I would say, regardless of that fact, overall we were slightly underwhelmed by Little Italy. Like, it was still a good experience, but
Yeah.
you can't compare Italy to a false version of Italy, is what
Yeah.
we learned. So,
Yeah,
like,
it was a little bit sad because we really had high expectations and we thought we would have the best Italian meal that we've had since being in Florence, and no, that wasn't the case. I mean, the
No.
place was good. The place was good, and it was soured by the fact that she was a little bit sick, but it was not as good as some of the Italian restaurants that Flips in Oklahoma City I like better.
yeah. So it was still a cool experience. I'm glad we went. In the end, I think we were able to, I was feeling better by the time we left, but it was just kind of like the whole night, I think, we just didn't realize how much our exhaustion had gotten to us from that first day. We just, again, walked so many miles, had very little water. Honestly, our lunch wasn't that big, so that was kind of unfortunate. But I'm glad we got to see it. I would go again. I would love to go again when we had more time, when I wasn't feeling bad. And I think that our experience could have been a little bit different, but we would still encourage you to check it out. And there's still great food down there. But if you're expecting it to be exactly like Italy, if you've been, maybe like take your expectations down a little bit.
Expectations down just a bit.
But it's still really cool that we even have something similar to that in the U.S. Like, there's just, it was cool to see a different style of the city, a different area of the city. But that was day one. I don't think anything really
Kind of day
significant.
2, I guess.
Day
1, day 2,
full
day 1 and a
day
half.
one,
First day 1.
So yeah, day 2. What did we do day 2? Okay,
What?
this is the fun story.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we were,
This was supposed to be our last day, right? Yeah.
yes, so we were only supposed to have 2 full days and the first half day. So got up in the morning to check in for our flight that was the next day, the next morning, 24 hours in advance. And long story short, I have to blame myself a little bit, but also the airline was confusing. Our flight got messed up, and it was kind of my fault. But long story short, we ended up getting a full extra day in Boston. So the first hour and a half of our morning, when we woke up at 7:30 a.m., thinking it would be a really quick check-in, sleep a little longer, get on with our day, ended up being really stressful because we woke up, realized that he did not have a flight out the next morning. Only I did. And after looking at different airlines and trying to find different flights, we figured the best option would be us actually flying home on the same flight together, obviously, to avoid any travel complications, or at least if there were any, we'd be there together. So there were no flights out that day for both of us. So we made the decision to postpone going home by a full day and taking the same flight out the next morning. And thankfully we were able to get an extra room in our hotel, or an extra night at our hotel, so we didn't have to worry about changing hotels. I don't know what else. There was a few other logistics to figure out to stay, but once we did, we were able to actually like fully immerse ourselves in those next few days, and it ended up being really, really nice because that second full day we ended up really just spending in our, I'd say 2 square miles of the Seaport District, and just kind of taking it as almost like a rest day since the day before had been so exhausting. So our full day 2, we really
It worked out. We got up.
explored.
We had the stressful morning with the airlines that took forever to figured that out, and then we worked out, which was nice because that's the first workout in like a week and a half for me, and first workout for you in a few days. And then we went to that healthy restaurant that
Yeah, there was just like
got a nice smoothie, and you didn't really like the food that
weird.
much.
But it was fun. Like, I think that day
I read my book for a little bit.
Yeah, we read. We kind of walked around. There's a lot of shops in the Seaport District. If we didn't mention that earlier, so we didn't end up really buying anything, but like good shops, really good restaurants, and it's Seaport. Like it's in the name. It's on the coast, so we really just kind of walked around.
Yeah.
That area.
We forgot to mention, like, the weather is amazing at this time of year. It's obviously not like Oklahoma. It was like 77 and a nice little breeze. 81, a nice little breeze with the water. Like
it was like 100 in Oklahoma, by the way.
Yeah.
So like that was so
it was
nice.
A huge difference. A huge difference.
So yeah, we really just were enjoying our time outside. We went to, I do remember the name of this place. We went to this place called Bar Taco for lunch.
Yeah.
Which I really want there to be one in Oklahoma City.
Yes.
It was awesome. Like, I had never seen these before, but like, it's just a little QR code. I mean, I've seen those obviously, but QR code that you get your menu, but you actually order online and they'll just deliver it straight to your table. And so it's kind of like a real-time ordering system. You don't really have to deal with like a specific waitress, but there's people walking around if you need anything. But it was just a really cool concept. I kind of wish we went at night. I think it would have been a cool.
Yeah, it would have been more fun. To
like,
we
didn't get a drink or anything when we were there, but I just don't think I would have realized that there were so many cool restaurants and coffee shops in the Seaport if we wouldn't have stayed that extra day.
Yeah.
Because we did not have a goal of staying in the Seaport for any of our full days that we had planned. So that was kind of a nice day. We went to some coffee shops. We walked around and just we would get pastries and sit on the water for a little bit. I think that's the day we found a really good view of the water.
Yeah,
too.
we found like a nice spot at the edge of, I don't want to call it a pier, but it's like the edge of the coast on the Seaport that was extremely nice. You could you see all the planes taking off at the airport. You see all the nice boats, and it was just great to sit there for like an hour and a half.
People would bring their picnics and like eat dinner there. So we actually ended up doing that the same day or the next night, but
that was the last night.
Okay, yeah, but it was
no, you're right. We did that night because we did the last night. We did the Italian restaurant.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we just kind of found some really cool places to spend our time. We ended up having a really laid back rest of that day too. I think we decided to have a cheap dinner that night. I say that in quotes
cheap
because Boston is not cheap.
Boston is not cheap.
But instead of spending like $25 per person on a meal, I think we spent like $15 per person. I got like a to-go like gyro from a Greek restaurant. He got
noodles.
Asian, some noodles. His favorite food. And we sat on the water and ate like a little picnic, and it was honestly wonderful. So that was really great. And like he said, we just really enjoyed the weather, and everyone just seemed happy. I don't know if it was just.
It feels so happy and safe in Boston.
Yeah, it feels
compared to any big city that I've been to. It is like you can walk around at night and you don't feel a little bit on edge.
At least in Seaport.
At least in the Seaport, and at least in the Seaport.
Probably downtown too.
I'm sure there's areas that are sketchy that we weren't in, but over where we were, that felt really nice. We stay out late. We could walk back late and feel perfectly safe. Yes, chilling on the edge of the coast, reading a book, having the picnic with our own choices of dinner was super nice. And that's why we did it. That's why we saved it to do it again the next night for our last night. But.
Yeah. So I think another thing to mention too that we ended that night with, that we actually ended almost all of our nights with, was there was a really good restaurant and bar in our hotel actually. We actually ate dinner there the first night. Well, a late snack dinner. But we would go there almost every night to get a drink, and it was called, I think it was called Tamu or something, or Timu. It's like
Tamu's.
Connected to the Boston Seaport Hotel.
Connected to the Seaport Hotel.
Really, really good. Strong drinks. Really good chicken sandwich, we learned.
Really good chicken sandwich.
But that was kind of a fun way to end our nights most of the night, because when we were starting to get tired or like wanted to kind of go back, but we didn't want the night to be over, we would just go get a drink at our hotel and then just like walk right upstairs. And I don't know if we made a big enough deal, but our hotel was really nice. Like, it was expensive because it's Boston, but like I think we got our money's worth out of it. It was just a really cool area to be in, and felt like there was a lot of amenities, and that bar was one of them, that restaurant bar. So that's how we ended it too. We finished our dinner on the coast, went and got a drink at our hotel, embraced for day 3 that we were expecting to be day 2, but we had that extra day, which was nice, and thankfully we had no other travel issues, so we were able to fully embrace that last day before we left.
But before we talk about the last day, can we mention that hotels are better than Airbnbs now?
We have learned that. We did.
It's so much nicer.
On both of our last podcasts, or whatever you want to call these, our Vienna and our Italy podcast that we did. Greece is coming, by the way.
Yes.
But we always have done Airbnbs, and they're great in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But we've kind of started going back to hotels. Like, they offer so many different amenities that come
the
with
stupid
the price.
fees.
There's no fees. I mean, there's some fees, I will say, but
There's some fees.
it's a lot more. There's just a lot more customer service that could come with a hotel. So we actually really, really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Hotels are just so much more luxurious. That's what
They
I
are.
like. You have the bars, the restaurants that are very good, always connected to the nicer hotels. You have everything gets cleaned every day. You don't have the ridiculous, like, you have to pick up every speck of trash off the ground, or you get fined $180 in hotels, which is just great. But that was just a mini aside.
Yeah. Side comment, but our hotel was great. So I was sad to leave it. We had a great view of the coast too, which was awesome. But yeah, third and final day, 3.5.
Yeah.
Third full final day. Again, was supposed to be what we did on day 2, but we pushed it to day 3, which was a great decision. And again, kind of our only plan for the day, which was great because we didn't have any set times or set locations necessarily, apart from just the district we were in. And third day, we ended up going to Beacon Hill, which is, if you've ever looked up Boston, I'm sure you've heard of Beacon Hill. It's I say we call Cambridge the old money, old school, but like Beacon Hill's
the
real,
old money.
old money.
Real money.
Yeah, like I don't even know how to explain it. It just felt
Original
wealthy.
early Boston. That's where the first neighborhoods were established, or some of the first ones, and that is like, I mean, it was so nice, such old money feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it puts Cambridge to shame on the old money.
Yeah, and it was interesting because we didn't really think about the timing of it because we weren't expecting to be in Boston at the time. We thought we'd be on our way home, but we ended up there on a Sunday, and so a lot of the businesses didn't open up until a little bit later in the day, so somewhere like 10 or 11, and the place we wanted to go wasn't even open till noon, I think. So we ended up getting there at like 9:30 a.m. and then realized everything was closed, and we just kind of had a lot of extra time to walk around, which ended up being really great. We went to a coffee shop, and then I think we ended up just going. There was a really nice walking trail around
Boston Commons.
Yeah, is that where it was?
Yeah.
Boston Commons, apparently. Tons of people. That's something else we didn't mention, is that so many people are so fit. Like, I don't know how to explain. I think
How
it's
does
just
this not
because of the
happen?
weather. Like, everyone was out on a run on a Sunday morning, and again, the weather's nice, so why would you not be? But like, it just felt like a thriving community. Like, I don't see that here in Oklahoma. I don't see people running down my street every day, and there was just people everywhere, running or walking or biking or doing something active, kayaking, like so many cool things. So we got to see a lot of that, especially in Beacon Hill that day. So
Yes. Yeah, everyone is fit in the
city.
in the city.
Part.
It's
Yeah.
in like bigger cities. I've noticed that a lot of people are fit in especially in Boston, because I mean, I guess Boston is kind of like the health mecca of the world, but it's so weird. You don't see people aren't fit in Oklahoma City. It's just Oklahoma is a very unhealthy state, and I don't know. It was cool to see everyone doing activities.
Yeah, so it was really a cool way to spend our morning. We went down to, I guess it's not the lake. It was really the ocean, or the coast, I guess. I don't know what to call it. The Bay Area.
Oh, right over there's the Charles. That we were on the Charles River.
Oh, great. Okay, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
So we sat there for a while, saw a bunch of people spending their morning there, exercising,
Doing
yoga.
way better stuff than us.
Yeah, really cool stuff. But it was kind of a nice way to just walk around and see more of the city. We ended up finally when it opened up around, I think it was not even until 12:30 or 1 or 12 or 12:30, but Beacon Hill Books and Cafe opened, and that was, again, if you've been on social media, you've seen it. It's iconic. They have like tea, and you could do like a brunch there, but we just went for the bookstore. I bought a book there, so you got a book at the Harvard place. I got a book at Beacon Hill, so we did the traditional. You have to do something, get something when you're there, which was really fun. and then had a good brunch over there. And then, of course, we went to see Acorn Street, which is the famous street in Boston, in Beacon Hill.
In Beacon Hill, yeah.
It's all like the cobblestone streets. And funny enough, we were looking for it, and as we were mapping ourselves to it, we stumbled upon it without realizing.
Honey.
My dog is being so loud right now.
Honey, come here.
Come here. We'll make her join.
Come here. Just don't knock over the stuff.
There she is.
She's about to knock over the thing.
She is. It's okay.
Come here.
She can get on here. There we go.
Old body. Oh.
She's sitting right on you.
Don't even see her on the video.
Move her over here.
There you go.
She doesn't. She's trying. Anyways, she might be here for a while. But she's so happy. We're a little obsessed with our dog, if you can't tell.
Acorn Street.
Acorn Street, anyways. But anyways, funny enough, I had my Google Maps on trying to find Acorn Street, so you have to go there. And we stumbled upon this street that was so pretty when we were trying to map our way to it. And we were like, wow, this is like the prettiest street we've ever seen. This must be really close. Like, I was like, I can't imagine there being a prettier street than this. Turns out it was Acorn Street that we found. So we found Acorn Street while looking for it, but without realizing that was it. And it was, in fact, a very beautiful street.
Yes. They said it's the most beautiful street in Oklahoma. Or not
America.
America. Oklahoma's not very hard to beat.
I just felt like, okay, another random side note is that, you know, like when you see street numbers on, like, or not street numbers, but like house numbers on, like, homes, like, we live at, like, I don't want to say our address, but like 430, like,
Yeah.
Acorn Avenue. I made that up. But the really wealthy neighborhoods I've heard this as a rumor, and I feel like it's actually true after visiting Acorn Street, but the really wealthy neighborhoods have smaller digit house numbers. So instead of having like a 4 or 3 digit number, you've got like a 1 digit number. And we literally walked on the street and it was like 1 Acorn Street and 2 Acorn Street. And I was like, wow, we are in some
fancy. These are the OGs. These are the OGs of Boston.
Yeah, so that was really cool. There was a lot of people. I mean, there was a few people walking around. There was a car parked in the middle, so that kind of stunk when it came to like photos and stuff. But it was still beautiful, still really peaceful. I'm pretty sure there was a sign that said like no through traffic, but everybody was walking through there, so I'm sure they get annoyed by that, unfortunately. But we enjoyed it, so thank you if you live on that street for letting us walk down your neighborhood. But
Acorn Street.
yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. We really just
didn't do
wandered
that much that day.
in Beacon Hill. We tried to do an open house. Did not work out. We saw a sign for an open house, and we really wanted to go into it, but then
And they told us we were too poor.
they did not tell us that. We felt too nervous to go in, so we didn't end up going in. But they probably would have told us we were too poor to go in that house.
It was only a $2.1 million house, I think.
Only $2.1 million.
We'll be able to afford soon when this podcast takes off.
Hopefully so. We're hoping.
Everyone will have honey.
Yeah, do you think she'll help us market your podcast? She's really nice, I promise. That's just so cute.
Not really. She bites people.
Don't say that. She's protective. Okay, I hope no one watches this stuff. Anyways, so Beacon Hill was our morning/afternoon of our last day, and we decided, I think this is a really special way to end our trip, was because our Little Italy day was a little bit ruined by the sickness and not really being everything we expected it to be. We were kind of trying to decide, should we like kind of do something laid back for our last night?
Bar taco again?
Yeah, like bar taco, or like do our gyro place again and noodles. And we were like, you know what, we should really like try and make up for that night that we had to miss of our really nice dinner. And I say really nice, like we didn't go crazy all out, but there was another Italian restaurant that was in the seaport, close to our hotel, so not all the way down in Little Italy, which was like an Uber ride away. And we decided just to go for it and to have a nice meal for our last night, and that was honestly awesome. Like,
yeah,
it was great food. I mean,
it's very good food.
Very good food, but it was just a really, I don't know, I just feel like it was a nice way to end.
Great service.
Great service. I had my very first espresso martini, which I had never had before, and I've said for months that I was gonna try one. I don't know why I never had. I love coffee, but it was just fun, and it was it made up for the night we were supposed to have in Little Italy, I think. And so when we were done with that, we ended up just walking up and down the seaport again. I don't think we went to Cisco again that night, but we went back to our hotel, went to our hotel bar for one more night, had another drink. Was that the night that we went and bought wine?
I think so. Yes.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. One of them.
I don't know. We did. I'm sure we did more than we're even saying in this video.
Yeah.
But again, it was sounds very scattered, but it was just a very, I don't know, fluid trip. I would say, apart from the travel issues, but like we just did what we felt like doing. We didn't really have to spend even a whole lot of money on activities. Like it was really just food. And I don't know if we highlighted a lot of the history, but we did do some of the historical stuff too. Like we got to see some really cool.
Yeah, we did
areas.
a bunch of the memorial or the Freedom Trail, not the Memorial Trail.
Yeah.
Freedom Trail, and we did see the most iconic spot in Boston twice, and that was the police officer slide.
You want to explain it?
Everyone knows the police officer slide.
The police
But it
officer-
happened the day before we were there. The police officer went down the slide and it looked, or just was crazy. We were going like 100 miles an hour down the slide, and everyone's seen the meme.
Yeah.
We saw that slide twice.
We also saw a guy there that was there for the meme. He was like, "Are you guys here because of the meme?" And we were like, "Yes."
Yes, we're here for the memes.
I did not know about this meme, but I am less.
She's less
I don't know.
online than me.
I'm not in the popular areas of the online apparently, so
Less
he
online.
informed me. But it was really cool. There is so much more that I wish we could have experienced, but I think our takeaway from Boston, from that trip, that 3.5 days, was that we would 100% go back. We were like, why don't we live here? But then we also realized we could not handle the winters because we live in Oklahoma and I grew up in Texas. So like
And-
winters are rough.
Yeah, and
For us.
it's so expensive.
And yes, also we'd be broke in like a year. I'm just kidding. But we would run out of money a lot faster in Boston than we did here. So long story short, we love Oklahoma. We're happy where we're at, but we love getting to do these kinds of trips and just experience new places. It was so different. I had never been to a big city in the U.S. before. I mean, San Diego, but I'd never been to like an East Coast. I don't
Old
know.
city.
Yeah, just like one of those iconic.
The originals.
So it was a really neat trip for both of us, and we had a great time. The weather was great.
Yep.
A good balance of the history and just experiencing the day to day, and it was very inspiring. So
It was very smart.
we would love to go back. I think for any future conferences he does, I'm gonna have to join because that was a perfect
Yeah.
opportunity to go on a trip. And that was kind of our big thing to look forward to this summer, which is fun. So now it's time to plan for the next one. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we have really any thoughts. We have some long-term goals, but I know no one's gonna watch this, but if you have any ideas,
they
let
will.
us know. So-
28 people watched the last one.
Yeah, so
for
if you get it
36
all the
seconds.
way into, what are we at, 48, 43, I don't know, minutes, and you have a suggestion for where to go next, let us know.
We will do it.
We will podcast it eventually. Someday we'll get good at these, but it's, again, this is just fun for us to look back on, so, and it might look silly looking back and thinking we look ridiculous, but I want our kids to be able to watch this, and
Yeah.
we want everyone to love honey.
Honey.
So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, and then we got back, no problems, and we're back in Oklahoma. So go visit Boston, eat the lobster rolls, go see all the fun
Go
things.
sit at all the coffee shops. Go to
Coffee
Cambridge.
shops.
Feel smart.
Go to Harvard.
See all the fit people.
Yeah, let it inspire
And
you.
bring it to Oklahoma
Yes,
or wherever you're from.
yes. So
Yeah.
high five, Boston 2023.
You want to do it?
Yeah, okay. Say bye to honey.